Okay.
Beautiful Denise Ramon at deniseramon.com. It's been forever and I miss you. I cry in my sleep. Why can't I have a session with you? I know you're very busy, and I know I just found out right now that you offer mentorship for people. And you're going to give me that information so I can put it at the end of this YouTube. But today, with my lovely boy, Master Angel Erik Medhus, we're going to talk about SIDS, sudden infant death syndrome. Maybe it's called something different now. I'm not sure. And and Denise, you were not very happy about him choosing this for you, right?
Correct.
We're all eternal beings.
I know, but it's such a
I know.
heavy subject, a very sensitive subject, and but Erik has this cape around him. It's like a purplish type color, and he's like, it's kind of like how Batman would fly with the cape or whatever, and Erik has got this cape on because when you were introducing him, it's like he was being real dramatic about it, and then he just now throw it off like that.
Okay, but you know, of course we are eternal beings, and what a gift for a child to give the family, the mother, the father, the siblings, whoever, to to die from SIDS. And as Erik said, children, their deaths when they're that young, it's a bit easier. Not for the parents. Okay, I had a stillborn child. It was horrible, and it's like a revolving door to them. It's like, coming in. I'm back home. Yay! Did I accomplish what I was sent for? So let's talk about it. Erik, I'll give you the mic.
Okay, and he goes, "Thank you, Mom." And he does that. He's first of all, he says he wanted to say, "I love you, Mom," and he's also telling me he'd been telling me the whole time, and he wants me to acknowledge, I guess, for everybody, but he says, "You have gotten so much more beautiful. There's something about you that has changed, and it's the work you're doing. The work you're doing is also helping you," he's saying. So he just wanted to acknowledge that.
I mean, I feel like it's helping me more than a lot of people. Maybe
it does feel like that sometimes, but no, he says, "You're doing wonders. It's amazing," he's saying. But he says, with SIDS, he says, there's not one prescription as to why. Each individual has their own contract of when they come in and why they leave at a day old, an hour old, or 3 months old, or 6 months old, and it's all it's all prearranged, prior to, so it's not like you're walking down the street and the heel of your shoe falls off, like it's not anything like this. Was prearranged and everything. And he says that some just come in because the agreement is they just want to come here for a very short period. He says like a couple hours or whatever. They just want to come here. But there's always something good from it, because it's like that's what needed the push. It's like a bumper car or something. That's what needed the push to get the people who are all connected to that baby that didn't stay here in another direction. Some of it is it provokes people to become, writers. It provokes people to be more, the other children who lost that sibling to become doctors, or to get more involved in research, to help with lobbying, with the insurance, and stuff like this, and the cost about what all it does. It's also to bring awareness about that people did lose someone, and he says, he's showing me how there should be like a cut rate in a sense for people that have to have a funeral for these babies, you
Oh,
know,
yes.
instead of having that full blown, expense. And there should be some, in the way he keeps saying, like a forgiveness program or something like that, but
Well, I'm wondering about that. If one of the lessons, well, many lessons, I'm sure, is like appreciating the sanctity of life and priorities, and self-forgiveness, self-compassion, because I think a lot of parents, especially the mothers, maybe not, feel like it's their fault and they feel like they need to be forgiven.
he said, yes, a lot of mothers, and do take on the full responsibility of that, along with the parents or the father and stuff like that, or the grandparent who's ever watching them, or,
Yeah.
take on that responsibility, or the siblings who are watching the baby. There are some who were so invested in their addiction that they weren't able to come to the baby. Say if
Oh,
had they got there and rolled them over or done something that maybe they could have lived, and Erik says, you can go through the scenario that yes, they probably could have lived, but there was an agreement, because with this young soul transitioning over so young, maybe this is what was needed to kick this person into recovery.
yeah.
Because Erik says you don't know how many lifetimes they've lived in addiction.
Oh, and self-forgiveness and self-compassion seems to be,
Yes.
I do these trauma reports on, we look for the future or past life, usually past, that is most being triggered by the present life. And, you know, self-forgiveness and self-compassion is a huge lesson that keeps coming over and over. And a lot of the times, the reason Erik likes people to order these reports that are, oh my God, they're so lengthy, it takes forever, is to show them what spiritual lessons are, his words, kicking them in the ass lifetime after lifetime after lifetime, so they can discover them and resolve them for once and for all. I mean, cut the spiritual DNA. And I think self-forgiveness is a huge one, and SIDS is probably one way to to bang you on the head and say, you gotta learn self-forgiveness. You came here to learn self-forgiveness. You
Yes.
overall,
And self-love.
and self-love. Yeah. Yeah.
Erik says in self-love. You know, Erik is telling me this, and I think I've said before, when my brother died, at his funeral, God, not the churchy God, but God came and talked to me and spoke to me. It's like he injected my body with this warmth and this love. And when he told me that the time was right, I knew in that I heard it, but I could feel it, that nobody exits this planet a minute too soon or a minute too late,
Oh,
that's their exit time. And it doesn't matter if they leave by cancer, car wreck, or somebody getting killed. Like my brother was murdered, and he was supposed to die on August 9th.
wow.
And does it suck? Absolutely. Absolutely. Does it, and this is one of the things, and I've told you before several years ago, I commend you, and I just wallow in your strength of what you're doing for so many women and parents
Yeah.
by taking control of your most painful day and putting it into something to benefit this planet. And because my mother could never get there.
Worst thing that can happen to a human being.
Yeah, that's what my mother says. You've never known pain until you've lost a child. And for you to get to where you are, and I know there's quite a few other people personally who have done the, move. That doesn't mean you don't feel the pain and feel the loss and miss the touch and stuff, but to be able to do what you're doing, and but they don't, but nobody can leave this planet except when they're ready. And yes, it's horrible when you have this baby that lives 2 hours. I just can't even imagine. And then they're not there. And I think that I just saw a post on Facebook where that happened to somebody.
Yeah, you know, 'cause it's like a roller coaster ride too.
Oh,
Also a roller coaster. Yay, we have a baby, we're new parents, or we have our next child, and then that happens. It's like a kick in the gut.
beyond. Erik says it's like a kick in the gut and up the throat.
Yeah.
And he says, and you can't get it out. But Erik says, but there are things in there, and a lot of these young souls, and when he says young, he doesn't mean that they're young as in maturity wise, but young
Right.
as when they're here. They only wanted to come here to experience whatever it was. But sometimes they come back to you also.
Oh,
And
what percentage of time do they come back, Erik?
Erik says
I mean, overall, in the general population.
Erik is showing me like 30, so I want to say 30% come back to you. Some people just say no more children, I can't do this anymore. And I think I would be one of them. But but he says, but sometimes they come back because maybe it just wasn't a good fit for you. Some people have it and they get divorced and do all this stuff, and then they find the love of their life, and then they get pregnant again.
Oh, yeah.
On stuff like this. And that doesn't mean that they don't miss their first child, but they're just more appreciative of where they are with this other one that came full term and stuff, and that they get to take home and keep it home and stuff. I know some people personally whose babies died after a few months and stuff. And, it's one thing you're fearful, Erik says they're fearful of that they're going to blame you and put charges against you and stuff, because he says, because sometimes what people go through, and he says, and sometimes it has to deal with their income level, is how they treat you when this happens. But he says, but they also have to treat it
What do you mean, how they treat
you like an investigation and stuff like that. Because sometimes you're already guilty before you're innocent, or they already suspect before they know. And Erik says, but some of that they have to go in that way too, though, because of what's going on. So they do have to check to make sure that the baby wasn't shaken to death, or especially if they don't see any trauma on it, they have to rule out everything. And anybody who is a parent would want that ruled out, because they want to make sure that the husband or the mother or the sibling or something didn't do that. And that does happen, and that's unfortunate. But
necessary.
It is necessary. Unfortunately, it is necessary.
All right, so do these babies ever come in just because they want to experience the birth process?
Yes, yes.
Because they want to test out the parent, check out the mom or the dad or the family, and then they come back later. I mean, what are the infants' reasons for going through this?
Some of them just want to experience the process of coming through the birth canal and experiencing that. Erik says some of these babies just want to experience that for a little bit, and then they come back sometimes to their sibling as their baby or something like that. So, or they can come back into the sister of the mother who lost the baby or something, or the brother or something, Erik says it's kind of like it's, he doesn't mean to sound insensitive, but they come in for the thrill of it. But there also can be, he says, there might have been something that they were missing to complete from a previous life, like they needed to whatever. And then when he's saying that, I'm like, what could you miss by going through the birth canal or
Well,
something?
maybe they were stillborn and wanted to experience being born alive. Um,
Eric says, very good, Mom.
I'm all that in a bag of chips. I'm kidding.
And Eric says, and then some of these babies also too, like they're like, okay, he says it's like they're standing there, they're like, okay, well, let me check out the birthing process and see how I like this. And he says this doesn't happen a whole lot, but he says they want to check out the birthing process and they go through that. And then so they do that and then they go back over and then they're like, okay, I don't want to do the baby thing. I want to be a walk-in.
Oh, interesting. Yeah.
And they want to skip the learning how to walk and all that other
Oh,
the adolescent years, and then they just want to be a walk-in.
okay.
And so he said, so it's just, and he says for us, because we're such a physical planet where we feel things, you know, the physicalness, and it's hard for us to get there. And you know, Erik tells me in sessions about different people, but he tells them to like to get grounded, like, and wash your hands, feel the water on your hands, just really feel what it feels, the physicalness
Tactile. Yeah.
of washing your hands. And then
Especially nowadays,
I
right?
know. And he says, you know, like just get into the simple, this helps you to stay in the now and helps you to stay grounded. And he tells me this. And then just the other day, I was thinking about him telling me that. And I was talking to my daughter about stuff about the physicalness and why we come here and stuff. And that's the one thing that we say about our loved ones is we miss their physicalness.
Yeah. Their hugs.
So I was like, no wonder Erik says, enjoy the water, feel the physicalness, enjoy the physicalness of whatever it is you're doing. So when you're driving, feel how good it feels to hold the steering wheel, or if you're digging in the dirt or cleaning, washing dishes, ironing, whatever it is you're doing, enjoy the physicalness.
So true.
That's what we miss.
The feeling pizza, a bite of pizza in your mouth, and the
Yes.
smell, all the senses, but particularly the tactile sense. Now,
Yeah.
those are some of the reasons why a baby would choose to do that. The
Mhm.
soul would choose to go through that. Do they suffer very much when they die?
None. None.
Tell me, Erik, what's it like for them?
Erik says,
And then X months later or weeks later.
Erik says no. He says their soul leaves their body before anything happens, before suffocation, if they're flipped on their stomach, or if, well, he says this is for SIDS or anything, you know, pain or whatever is going on. He
Right.
says their soul leaves. You know, they wouldn't come here known to suffer that. Erik says there's a very few little souls, very few, very, very small amount that want to feel what that feels like whatever it is, like
Yeah, he
they,
told me that there's some people who actually want to experience a painful death, but
yes, they
don't. But
yeah, but he says there's a real small percentage that want to feel that, because that's going to help them on their next journey.
oh, to feel compassion, for example, for people who are in pain. Yeah.
Erik says, yeah, yes, and they
Or
get
a
a,
pulmonologist, and you have patients that are feeling like they're smothered. You could be a better pulmonologist. I don't know. I mean, just throw it out there.
Erik says yes, and then also too, you may not consciously be aware of it, but you're compassionate enough for people who are going through pain or whatever kind it is.
Yeah. So, in short, the lessons for the parents would be, of course, to learn about loss, self-forgiveness, self-compassion, self-love, humility, priorities. Uh, what other lessons would be?
Erik is showing me shame because he says for some reason a lot of shame parents feel from that. And I guess is it, I'm asking Erik, is because we question like, what did you do? What were you doing? Did you know, or something? And so Erik says there's a lot of shame in there. And so there's a lot of that going on. But Erik says prior to them having that loss, as we put it, all those emotions, those feelings were there, but they weren't as magnified. About self-love, self-awareness, self-forgiveness, and you know, and what it also does is it brings up a lot of shame from a lot of stuff. And they, you know, those my heart goes out to them people, because they sure did pick a shit roll to work through.
Oh God, I know. So I forgot what I was going to say. About,
and you know, and they're going to do something. I was talking to somebody the other day about her son at the age of 5 was diagnosed with diabetes 1 and celiac, and right away Erik says he's going to be a doctor. And so I said, he's going to be a doctor. She goes, you know, he says he is, and he's 11 now. And then I heard he's going to find that missing link as to what is to diabetes 1.
Oh.
And I'm just, and she says, he says he wants to, and I didn't tell her that much because she doesn't know what I do. She says he wants to find a cure for diabetes.
Wow.
And I'm just like, and this, so I got to figure, so it, like say 20 years, he'll be 31, he'll be through med school.
Yeah.
If he goes straight through out of high school and that, and maybe I might be around to see, like, I knew it.
That would be awesome.
Yeah.
So also, I guess surrender would be a big lesson, you know.
Oh, yes.
Things. You cannot have control over everything. And sometimes you just have to surrender. That's a toughie, for, at least for me, maybe for most people. But is that a big one for SIDS?
Oh, tremendous. And there's so many layers to the surrender. So you can surrender a little bit on a layer. You can surrender with acceptance that your child has transitioned over. You surrender that. And then you, after you get like not even used to that, but getting to where you've picked up all the baby clothes and done and redo the room or whatever it is you need to do, you know.
I still haven't disposed of everything of Eriks. I just can't.
Of course, you know, and then there's another layer, you know, you go through, and it's about knowing that it's okay to feel.
Yeah. Feel emotions, feel grief.
Yes.
Vulnerable.
Yes, because, and this is where a lot of shame comes in, Erik says, for these people, because, well, it's been 6 months or it's been 2 years. What are you crying about? And it's like, what the shit, you know? And yes. And
you have to reach a new normal. You never are. I will never be completely unbroken.
of course not. Of course not.
You know, you just have to find peace with that and move forward and
allow yourself to be there.
Yeah.
Allow yourself to be there, you know. And
what about
Erik says,
go ahead.
I'm sorry. No, go ahead.
Go.
I was just going to say, Erik says there's just different layers, and you just gotta. It's like a severe sunburn, you know. It's got stages to heal, and each one is so painful.
Oh, that's a great analogy. Surrendering your shame, your guilt. That's a really important one.
Oh.
And what about finding connections? Because I'm wondering if when a family goes through a loss like this, if some connections with relatives, either in the immediate family or beyond, are healed. That people, all that Uncle Benny who was always such an ass at Christmas reaches out and gives condolences and wants to connect with you more, and that relationship is healed, etc. Is that sometimes the reason for this?
Erik says, yes, and the reason why the uncle was this, because there's a past life thing that needs to get rectified, and coming into this. But sometimes you you get rid of some family members because you're realizing they're just toxic anyway.
Oh, wow. Those are the ones that say, get over it. You got other kids. Or you can always have more.
Oh,
Oh, God. Okay, that's good. You can, like, pull the wheat from the shaft, so to speak. So,
yeah. And Erik says, you're kind of like, what was real important and to you today, tomorrow, when that happens, your priorities get reset, and
yeah.
you could care less anymore if you have that Louis Vuitton purse,
Oh, God, yeah.
or if your other kids are wearing matching outfits, or you could care less about that. You could care less if they're eating McDonald's or eating an organic meal. You could care less, because that's so unimportant at this moment. And it's definitely a reality check. And then
You
you
got
have
maracas on your wrist. Do you have maracas on your wrist? I'm kidding.
no.
I heard you shaking. Wow. So that's really interesting. And I bet it's a good one lesson could be to learn how to set emotional boundaries with others. Those for those toxic people, for example, to say, hey, look, I'm not cool with this. It's okay to be forthright and set those emotional boundaries.
Erik said yes, and then sometimes it wakes people up to their abilities that they came here to use, and that is to be a healer, slash medium, to get into past life regression type work, the quantum physics type, doing stuff like that. Um, also to lobby for things, to bring forth new laws or whatever it is, like the guy that started the Amber Alert, that started because of his own daughter, So look at what John Walsh does, that started because his 6-year-old boy was kidnapped and killed. And then look what he's done with this, he took his pain and put it into something positive. And Erik says, and this is what we do with our stuff. Look at what you're doing with this stuff. You took your pain out of desperation to find some relief, and look what you've done.
Well, we've done.
Correct. But Erik says, it is what we've done, but it took you and your daughter, he's not leaving his sister out, but you had to be the one to put yourself out there. That takes guts.
Yeah, Christina Brawley.
Yeah.
ChristinaBrawley.com. She's got a great YouTube channel, by the way. You've got to watch. My husband does my makeup on the Christina Brawley channel. But anyway, yeah, she is the one that was, she could make websites. So she, in her first or second year of medical school, created the blog, Channeling Erik. I said, here, Mom, do something with it. So I'm so grateful to her. And anything else you want to talk about SIDS, Erik, before we close up?
Erik says one is it's so important to find a support group.
Yeah.
And if anybody comes around that is not giving you compassion and love and support, remove yourself from that, because you are already giving you all that negative stuff. You're already beating yourself up with the invisible baseball bat. You're already thinking you're worthless or whatever it is. And, some people do take their own lives because of it, because they can't handle the pain. So Erik says the main thing is to find a support group. And he says, and even those who aren't into medication, get yourself on some kind of medication, and when he says that, I feel like like an antidepressant type thing, nothing really mind altering like a Valium or, but Erik says, hey, if pot's available in your area, cannabis, go ahead and get, something to get you through that raw moment. And it is a raw moment.
I'm wondering if there are times where somebody loses a child to SIDS and inside they're relieved because they were not prepared to have a baby. They don't have the finances for it. But then, oh my God, it's so complex because they're grieving the loss, but they're dealing with the guilt of feeling that little moment of relief. Does that happen very often? That must be the hard.
Rare, but Eric says it does happen
Wow.
because a part of them like didn't want it because of the repercussions. He says it really happens a lot in young girls that are unwed and stuff
Yeah.
like that, or their husbands beating them and stuff
Oh.
like that. But Eric is telling me when you're talking about that, those people also some of these people would be really good to do, have like a, some type of medicine like ayahuasca,
Oh yeah.
and they could really get into the underlying truths of all of it, and it's very healing for them, they're saying.
Interesting. All
But
right.
you don't want to just get anybody, you want to know
No.
somebody who's going to walk you through
Yeah.
that.
Oh God. I don't want it coming out of both ends. Sorry. So anyway, anything else you want to? First of all, DeniseRamon.com, which I'll put here. And anything else you want to say, Eric? I love you.
That's what he just said. He goes, Mama, he says, I love you so much. And he says, and he's so proud of you and the work that you're doing. That
Oh,
and when he says that, he's doing this, which means both of y'all are doing. And he really loves that you're being his voice, that you're, and you're just becoming more and more and more aware of your intuitiveness, he says. And he just loves that. He loves watching you, and he loves watching you. So do sometimes you cuss or something when you're doing that work?
oh
Like,
yeah, sometimes. Yeah, I'm at myself.
yeah, at yourself, because Eric says he just loves that,
Oh,
and he gets
well,
tickled
yeah,
at
but
that.
Archangel Michael and the rest of the Run team were here. He's like, I'm sorry, I'm sorry, I'm sorry.
No, he said, no, Mom, he says we love it because we don't feel it. We don't,
No, I know.
yeah, he says it's just different how it's interpreted, but he
Exactly.
just loves what you're doing. And he's saying he loves that we're back in the seat. And I too love doing this with you. I really do. I, I love the questions. I love the interaction, and I love how you push me. You stretch me, you and Eric both. And like for Eric to want to do SIDS, I was like, I really didn't want to do that one.
You're not happy with that choice. But
No,
you
I
did
wasn't.
such a great job. Yay.
Thank you. And and I trust Eric.
Yeah, that trust is important.
Oh
All
gosh, yes.
right, thank you. And thank you so much. You guys go to atlantascalar.com too. DeniseRamon.com,
Yes.
but atlantascalar.com. Now we can revoke spiritual contracts that do not serve you in your life. And that's huge. You can open up energy blockages. I asked Eric, please make the price lower. And he did by like a lot. And because we're here to help. That's it. All right.
Absolutely.
Love you.
Love you too. You take care.
You.
All right. Bye.